just an amazing quantity of food, and this group went back and we cooked a lot for dinner and made a really good pasta primavera with entirely with stuff that had come out of the dumpster bin, followed with coffee which had come out of the dumpster bin too, and I could not understand why these packets of coffee seemed to have been thrown out. So yes, there's a lot of food wasted. Now, that doesn't mean that we can all feed ourselves with it. I mean, in a sense, the dumpster divers are parasites on the industry. That's true, because if everybody got food out of the dumpster bins, well, the supermarkets wouldn't exist and there wouldn't be dumpster bins either. You wanted to come in?
Well, I was more talking about actual wild food.
Okay, so, well, now, I actually really love getting wild food myself. I'm a bit of a mushroom person, and it's been a great season for mushrooms. And you certainly can find a lot. In fact, you can find a lot in amazing places because most people don't know about it. For those of you who gather mushrooms, there's a great mushroom called hen of the woods. And you know this, it's really delicious. It's got a Japanese name, which is mataki, I think, or matsutake, something like that. And you can get it in Japanese restaurants where it's incredibly expensive. So I found a large one of these, looks a bit like a cauliflower in some way, so that's the size of cauliflower growing right on, 3 blocks down from Princeton's main street. Obviously people just walk past these things and they don't know what it is, or they think, oh, that's a mushroom, it's probably poisonous. So I think it's great, but I can't really imagine that we're going to feed the world by this. I mean, I think if you got, in a way, finding mushrooms relies on the fact that most people don't do it, and that's why there's still plenty there. And otherwise, you're going to get the problems that we have with fishing. So then, I'm not sure what else there is. There are berries and grasses, I guess, and leaves that you can put in your salad. And of course, if you want to shoot deer, there are deer. But I'm not sure whether you have other things in mind.
Well, for example, I just threw a wild food piece about a week ago. It's mentioned in the video. And I've been, half of my diet comes from wild sources.
Okay.
Things like acorns and tuberous plants and other kinds of that sort. So it's definitely possible. And I think if more people did it, I don't think we would necessarily deplete those resources. I think it would be more that we would enter into a relationship in which we would want to continue the species populations.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. I haven't really thought about that, and I'm not sure how many people could do it, but obviously there's more to it than things I was thinking of. There's someone down there.
Yeah, I realized that, looking at it, I'm not going to really reduce my meat intake any more than I already have, and I'm really spending the time to go out and find out which food comes from factory farming versus free range or exactly what it all means. But if I am going to be eating in restaurants and fast food places, is there a type of meat or type of food that I should try to eat more of or less of? Should I try to increase my beef intake and lower chicken, or more specific commodities? What would you recommend?
Clearly, I think the best way out of these problems is to recommend going to a restaurant that has good vegetarian choices that are tasty enough so that you don't, the commitment that you mentioned at the beginning that you're not going to reduce your meat intake, maybe you'll start to think again about it because you realise that there's lots of great food that doesn't require meat. But, if you are going to eat meat, it depends a little what your priorities are. I mean, certainly, I think veal at a restaurant is probably the worst choice. It's intensive, it's cruel, it's bad for climate change as well. But if you were choosing, say, between chicken and beef, it does depend what's more important. I think the chicken industry is more cruel because they're more confined, more crowded. The individual birds don't matter, so they don't get any veterinary attention. Whereas, cattle, individual animals are worth a bit and they do get better attention and they're not so crowded. On the other hand, from a climate change point of view, the chicken is better than the beef because the cattle will produce all that methane and the chicken will not. So there isn't really an easy answer to that. I think, you can ask the restaurants questions about how was this produced? Do you have organically produced meats where at least they're not going to be factory farmed that intensively? Or if they have fish, you can ask them, does your fish come from a sustainable fishery? most restaurants will look blankly at you when you ask that question, admittedly. But at least they get the idea that their customers are interested in this issue, and maybe in future they'll find out. And some of the better restaurants will actually be able to give you a proper answer.
Now, what about like beef versus fish? What are the issues associated with that combination?
Well, I think probably I would go for the fish, even though I would worry about the sustainability of the fisheries. But I suppose I'm more concerned about climate change than about sustainable fisheries, and that's why I would go for the fish there. Yeah, let's try over this side of the room. Yes.
Hi. I'd like to know, yes, you're talking about the ethics of eating meat, and I'd like to ask, animals eat each other, and we're animals ourselves as well. So it seems that most of the issues you raise lie in how, but not as much as in what we employ in practice. For example, with calling genetically modified organisms not organic, most of the issues that stem from that I've seen lie in the issue of litigation. For example, Monsanto's gained a notorious reputation for having its genetically modified seeds by chance spreading into adjacent fields and then taking over those fields by claim of patent rights. And so, in that same sense, a lot of it appears to be a problem here being constructed by us. And so I'd like to know if you see any way out of that, out of this problems constructed by policies.
Well, I think the Monsanto case that you mentioned was ridiculous, and the easy way out of that is for Monsanto to recognise that if farmers don't, if the pollen blows across someone else's field, they have no rights over the crop. In fact, you think the farmer could really sue them for polluting his crop if he was trying to grow non-GMO crops.
But then the issue is raised for GMOs in particular, not so much against the
it is, that's true, and that's why, as I said, I don't have a sort of blanket stance about GMOs. On the other issue, yes, it's true that some animals eat other animals, although typically the herbivores that we eat don't, but I don't think you can draw any moral conclusions from that. I mean, we have choices that they don't, and so I think we are in a situation where we have to make an ethical choice about what we eat. The lion doesn't have any capacities to make that choice and doesn't have any food options if it doesn't kill the antelope. So I think that is a different situation. We're going to have time for about 3 more questions, I think. There's one there, one in the middle there, one at the back there, and all right, we'll see if we can get them quickly. We'll take the gentleman in the blue top there and then the black over there. Okay, starting with you.
What's the most effective way that you can describe exactly what pain is?
To describe what?
What pain is.
What pain is? Oh, I think the most effective way is to basically show people what it is in themselves, right? We all know that. You pinch someone and they know what pain is. And essentially, I think we understand pain by analogy with our own experiences. I think if we didn't have that experience, we could not understand it in someone else. But we feel it ourselves. We see the similarity of behaviour. We see the similarity of nervous system. I think that's the best way to do it. In the middle.
I read a summary of a study conducted last year, which concluded that lobsters and other crustaceans, in all likelihood, do not feel pain in the same sense that us mammals do. If that notion could be indisputably proven, would there still be moral grounds for not eating lobsters and other creatures that way?
No, if that study were accurate, I'm not sure that I've seen the one you're referring to. The only moral ground would be questions of whether we're fishing them into extinction or something, which conceivably we might, but if we control that properly and can be controlled, it wouldn't be. It's pretty controversial, I think, and I think you're not denying that. I've certainly seen studies that go the other way, but yeah, we don't have a definite answer. I agree. Okay, there was someone over here. Yes, you. That's right.